Greetings and good evening. Welcome to tonight's episode of the Viberarian Show. My name is Joelle, and I am your host for this elevational conversation. I'm here every Thursday on the Viberarian Radio Network on Blog Talk Radio, having conversations, pursuing all the subjects and things that I like to talk about, things that I find interesting and curious and stimulating, and I hope that you do too. You can stream live through your PC or phone. You can find all of the links to this programs on blogtalkradio.com/theviberary, and that is TheViberary. Also, you can connect with the community of people I like to call the Good Vibe Tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. I truly believe that, and I am curating a community of people who are all about elevating, enlightening, and empower. Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram using @theviberarian, and that's TheViberarian. If you see something that is exciting, uplifting, brings a smile to your face, is informative, please tag me, tag either Good Vibe Tribe or Get Lifted, because I would love to spread that energy far and wide as far as I can with my social reach, as it's called. We do too much spreading of the negative, and I'm all about increasing our positive impact. Now, I am here on Thursday evenings. You can call in at 646-787-8436. If you are listening on the show line and you want to have a question or want to contribute to the conversation, just press the #1 key during the show, and I will absolutely get you on. And there's also a chat room that you can join if you're on the Blog Talk Radio site, and I'm also monitoring that, and we'll put your questions and comments into the conversation tonight. Now, one of the things about me is that I'm a librarian by trade and education, but I'm operating at a higher frequency as the Viberarian. So everybody is always saying, what is that word you're saying? Well, it's VIBE, because it's all about the energy. I love energy. I believe that we are vibrational beings operating at a frequency at all times, and so our awareness of this has the ability to shift us into a whole different energetic experience. That is so appropriate for tonight's conversation, because this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and it is definitely energy focused, and I am very excited tonight because one of my favorite people in the world is my guest this evening. I am joined by Mudiwa Mahasin of Golden Era Creations. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, Golden Era has been a vendor that I have discovered, I don't know how many years ago, but it was several years ago at Gloria Parker's big psychic fair up at the Blue Barn in Roswell, Georgia. Gloria's event has been going on for 30 years. It's like the longest running psychic fair in Atlanta, and you're always guaranteed to encounter people who are high vibrational, either as readers, service providers, body workers, healers, and of course upstairs, a fixture of this event for many, many years has been Mudiwa and Golden Era Creations. She always has this beautiful table of things set out that are all shiny and sparkly, and when I first encountered it, I had no idea what I was getting ready to experience. But she said to me, let me give you a demonstration of what I'm talking about and what the power of this energy devices that we call Orgonite can do for you. And that started out a kind of like shopping obsession for me to where I have continued to patronize her little booth wherever it has been, at Atlantic Station, at my own events, at events, and all these things have been destroying my mind. There is a reason for this, and tonight I'm so pleased to welcome Mudiwa to the Viberarian Show so we can talk about Orgone, Orgonite, Saa Energy, and how to bring more balance and harmony into your reality. Mudiwa, thank you so much for coming this evening.
Hello, greetings. Thank you so much for inviting me, Joelle, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. You've gotten me excited about my own product right now. So thank you very
Yes,
much.
you should be. You should be. I mean, and you're saying excited about your own products, but you really did get into Orgone and Orgonite for a very personal reading. So just as a way of background, let's first talk about what is Orgonite, and then I would love to hear how you got into working with it. I know a little bit about it.
Okay.
Listeners this evening, let's first talk about what is this Saa, which is S-A-A, or Orgone, O-R-G-O-N-E, also known as Orgonite, for those people who like to Google things later. So what is Saa Energy?
Saa, the term Saa, I use from an ancient Kemetic language, ancient Kemetic concept that means to adorn with power. Now, orgone, the term orgone, when we say orgone, we're talking about life force energy, the energy that is that defines everything in our manifested universe and also in our unmanifested, imagined or unrealized universe. Anything that we can speak of or see or think about is created from energy. So when we say orgone, we're talking about that energy life force, the energy of the universe. So Saa means to adorn with energy, and the orgone itself is a life force energy. So we're adorning you with life force energy. Now the muscle test that I did for you and that I do for everybody that comes into my booth or comes to the table is a form of kinesiology. Kinesiology is really like a balance test. You're balancing and testing energy, and it's based on a type of resistance. So we do a before and after with the orgone to show you where your energy is without the orgone piece on, and then we show you a test where you're holding the orgone. And what the orgone is doing is reattaching your electrical circuitry. As a human being, you know, most of us know, if you don't know, we are light beings, we are star beings. We're just walking around in these little suitcases we call our bodies, our flesh and blood bodies. But our real powerful, eternal, divine energy is our internal electrical life force energy. So when you're holding this piece, you're basically stimulating and reattaching and reestablishing that energy with Mother Earth and also the cosmos. So our energy is that big. We go into Earth and we go into the intergalactic or intercosmos. So when you're holding your orgone piece, I'm showing you that, well, the before part of the kinesiology test just kind of shows us how we are compromised, how our energy is compromised because we live in such a toxic environment. We have cell phones and car keys and satellites and computers and radiation everywhere, microwaves everywhere, which compromises our natural energy. And we don't realize it until I give you the device to show you how powerful and how established and how grounded you should be. So when we do the test before, it's showing you how weak you are, and without some type of device or some type of tool to help you to reestablish your connection with the earth. And then after, when you hold the device, you really feel a profound shift in your energy, in your groundedness, in your ability to stay grounded and to stay balanced. So that's the energy test that I gave you, Joelle, and then I give everybody that comes to the table. Usually after I do the energy test, I don't really have to say anything else because it's such a profound difference in the before and after.
It is. It was immediate. I mean, and it's funny when you watch people after you've already had the muzzle test, and then you watch unsuspecting people come up to the table, and it's like I can show you better than I can tell you. Is the seeing is believing, and like I think that most people don't realize how sensitive to energy we really are. I know we're coming into an era where people are using the term empath, and I'm an empath and I'm empathic. They're using it a lot more
Mm-hmm.
frequently now because people are coming into awareness of sensitivity, but I still think by and large most Americans especially are really focused on how much energy is being bombarded at us at any given time. I mean, we've got
Mm-hmm.
billboards that are changing and putting energy out. We've got street lights that are putting energy out, our computers, and it's like you can tell when the electricity goes off in your house if there's a power outage,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden, this
Mm-hmm.
absolute silence lets you know how much environmental buzz, like the refrigerator running or the air conditioner running or sounds from your pipes,
Mm-hmm.
it really is a lot of pollutant possible in our reality. And I think that, Oregon is a very tangible way to put that energetic barrier out for yourself. I don't know if that's exactly what happens with Orgone. What when you talk about like Saa and like universal life force, so we know that
Mm-hmm.
different cultures call it like chi, prana. We're talking about the source material that drives everything that we are currently aware of through this incarnation. How does Orgone come to be? It sounds almost like an element, like you would see helium, hydrogen, orgone, but it is not an element per se, is it?
Well, it is not recognized by modern science as an element. As a matter of fact, if you look up Orgone Energy in Wikipedia, it'll say it's a pseudoscience. Okay, but they say the same thing of alchemy, So
Mhm.
I call it an ancient alchemy. And what Orgone does, from my experience and from many, many testimonials, Orgone has the ability to literally transmute, which means to change the structure of negative or static or chaotic energy. And the energy that we live in on this earth is both calm and positive and feeding our energy, but there's also the negative side. We live in a yin yang existence on every level. So there's positive Orgone and there's negative Orgone. What Saa Orgone does is that it takes the negative Orgone, which is, again, all around us, it takes the negative Orgone and transmutes it into positive, into something that is useful, into something that we can gain energy from and balance from. So it's grabbing that negative energy out of the environment, out of your surroundings, changing it into something that is positive and powerful and useful for you. And I kind of visualize it like Orgone is a vortex of energy. I mean, it's like electricity. You can't see it until you stick your fingers, until you stick the plug in the socket. It's there. We know it's there, but you can't see it until you connect with it. That's why I let you hold the piece, handle the piece. So when you handle a piece, it's literally allowing you to connect back into the electromagnetic center of the earth. You're plugging back into the earth. And that's where your power and your strength and your balance is coming from when I do that kinesiology test. So when you speak of Orgone, you're talking about a vortex of invisible energy that is, you can experience that energy through the kinesiology test.
That is, so when you're talking about how it drops you kind of down into a really grounded and connectedness with the earth, it's kind of root chakra grounding, but it's rather larger than that because it's dealing more like, instead of within the pranic column or the chakra column, it's kind of dealing with your whole energy environment, not just you. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. So it is literally like when we talk about root chakra, we're talking about that area in our energetic system that, that the root, when we say root chakra, we're thinking about the lower chakra, the grounding chakras, the chakras that attaches to the earth. When we're talking about Saa energy or Orgone energy, we're talking about taking all of the known chakra centers, that the common ones, the 7 common ones, but there are many hundreds of chakra centers in our energetic force field. It's taking all of those energetic centers, and it is pushing us and connecting us back to the electromagnetic center of the earth, not just the ground, not just the top level of the first few layers down into the earth, but centering us with the center of the earth. If you can imagine that, that's how deep Orgone energy pulls us into the earth. So literally, when I'm just kind of visualizing when I give the muscle test, I ask you to resist me pulling you down on one side. And when I ask you to resist me pulling you down on one side, when you have that Orgone in your hand, you don't have to resist. You just stand there. I could jump in the hand.
Yes, you feel really solid, I tell you what. It's a subtle, but I'll say it's subtle, and yet it's not. It's very hard to describe because it's like you're holding, in some cases, like if you have like a bracelet, we're talking about just a few ounces of Orgonite within the whole body of the bracelet. It's a very small piece within all the beadwork, and it's still super powerful, and even in such a small quantity that it's like your spine is straighter, and it's just a real subtle kind of empowering kind of experience would be what I would call it.
Yes, I would say so, and it is kind of offsetting sometimes. Excuse me, when somebody looks at the tiny little bezel that I put on a bracelet, it just has a drop of Orgone energy in it. Okay, it's a very small piece, like the size of my pinky thumbnail. Okay, my pinky nail. And they look at that and they say, what is this going to do? And I show them, and sometimes that little tiny barrel has just as much or more energy than the bigger pieces that I sell. The thing about Orgone is it has a personal connection with your unique energetic force field once you put it on or put it in your hand or hold it. It has a personal and intimate relationship with your unique and individual force field. So if you're wearing a bracelet, you can get just as much power out of that as carrying around a big, pyramid that's only made for the house, basically made for the house. The Orgone energy is, the bigger the piece, the further out the force field goes. So you can have a small piece, and because it's, you're just carrying it in your pocket or wearing it on your wrist, the energy is very personal. It stays very close to your physical body. It doesn't radiate out. Now, if you're wearing a necklace or a pendant, someone standing next to you within 2 or 3 feet is also getting that energy. And I've done the test on the balancing test on people lining up next to each other, and with the small pieces, like the pieces that that come with the pendant, you can stand 3 or 4 people in a line, and they'll all get the energy. And
wow!
It really shows up. Yes. And with the pyramids, I've gone as far back as 10, 12 people. And everybody got the energy.
Wow.
The person in the front.
I haven't seen that. I'm going to have to do an energy chain at my next event when you're there so I can check it out. We'll see how far we can stand solid. I do have a caller who's asked to come on for a question, so we are definitely a conversational show. So caller with the area code 941. Let me see if I can bring you on the line here. Caller area code 941. You're on the Viberarian show. Who am I speaking with?
Greetings. This is Abdullah calling.
Hi, welcome to the show this evening. Thank you for calling. Did you have a question or comment for Mudiwa?
Yes. My question was, because if it's if it's like tuning into your personal frequency, does one's beliefs, does intent play any part in how effective it is? Because it seems like our intention, our vibrational frequencies, if you like, seems like they fluctuate or are affected greatly by, what our beliefs are or what our intent is. Does that affect it, or does it work regardless?
Wow, that is an excellent question. I tell people I get a lot of skeptics that come to my table, and I love it. Okay, I get a lot of people that say, "No, this is not for me." I mean, that we have our own personal belief systems, and I honor and respect all personal belief systems. But there has never been a skeptic.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to, no, I think, okay, it's there now. I think we had a little bit of feedback there. Go ahead, sorry.
So there has never been a person with a skeptical point of view for whatever reason that has come to the table that I have talked to that did not respond to the kinesiology test or the muscle test that I give them. And they, they're wide-eyed and they're kind of freaked out and they actually respond because I tell them, I said, well, if you're a human being and if you have an energy center, if you have an energy force field, which I'm sure that you do, you're going to respond to the energy which is in the orgone. And I also explain to them that there's nothing really, sometimes a personal philosophy, a person's personal philosophy will make them think that they should not take the energy test, and if they do, if they like a piece because there's energy in it, they should not buy it, or they shouldn't be associated with it. And I told them, I do not put any of my own energy into it. I do not do work over it. I do not pray over it. I do not put my intention into it. Yes.
I've got a little bit of muffling going on. I don't know if it's moved away. I'm getting some feedback as well. Abdullah, I'm going to put you back on mute to see if we can calm the energy down a little bit. I apologize, but hopefully we'll get your question answered here. Okay, that pulled some of that feedback. Could you repeat the last part about what you're saying about people's belief systems, Mudiwa? Feeling like they can't touch the orgone, and you're a little bit muffly. Sorry.
I'm a little bit muffly. Okay, let me take my speaker off.
There you go. You're very clear there, just there.
Okay. So, we all have our personal belief systems, our philosophies about, things in life that we think are positive or negative, and and that's all very good, and I do respect everybody's belief system. But when I get a skeptic that comes to my booth, I really just love it because I let them know, look, I'm not putting my personal energy. I'm not trying to change anything about your belief system. This is pure science. This is basic science. And I explain to them how I make the orgone, or what I put in it, basically, which is all very organic elements, gemstones, metals, minerals. And once they get that idea, once they understand that idea, I can at least give them the muscle test. And then once I give them the muscle test, and their energy responds to it like everybody's energy does, then they realize that this is not about changing your belief system. This is not about affecting you in any way except on an energetic level. and you can really experience that energy through the muscle test. So it really doesn't matter what you believe in. If you're a human being, you're going to have a response to this energy. So it really doesn't matter what your philosophy.
Well, I definitely, as a person who, when I shop at places and events, I don't depart with my money easily, and certainly entering something like a psychic fair, at that point when I first met you, I was more of a skeptic. Now I'm just a screener, you know what I'm saying? I believe, but I screen, right? So I use my discernment, but at that point in time, I was still kind of feeling my way through the whole realm of there's a different kind of reality out there that people are experiencing. But so when it came up to all the pretty sparkles, I was needing to see something compelling because there were other pretty sparkle vendors, to choose from. And so it was that actual, hold on, let me hold this thing, and this shift in my energy field. And I wasn't even doing chakra work at that time. I think it was probably before my conscious focus on my energetic body and system. You know what I'm saying? So when you have that happen and you realize that you're pulled off balance easily, and then you're not, because it's almost like an anchor drops down through your body, after that point, I was like, okay, well, now let me give this, and I could never figure out how you did the muscle test. So I would just tell my friends, well, you need to either see her, or like my friends who trusted me were like, okay, well, let's go see what it's about. And then, like my best friends all have some. I've wound up gifting people pieces because they travel to now because I've got tangible proof, and I've given it to several skeptic friends who say they find themselves holding it at different times when they're unaware that they're maybe stressed, and they wind up actually touching it, and it's in their environment or their office and things, so it draws them after the fact, So you started to touch on how Orgonite is made, so I want to talk then about how how Orgonite is generated, or Orgone is generated in this specific way, because it is a process of materials, and you talk about science, so this is a combination of materials that's very specific. Could you share a little information about that?
Yes, sure. So in order to create the vortex of energy that we call Orgone, you need several basic things. You need an equation of things. And what I use is gemstones, metals, resins, and minerals. Now, there's a huge community, worldwide community out there of Orgone makers and creators. And some say that you have to have something organic, like some sand or dirt or a piece of wood or something in it. I don't really subscribe to that, only because I've had so many positive feedbacks and testimonials about how effective the formula that I use is. So again, I use resins, gemstones, metals, and minerals. And it is a layering process. It is a layering process with the resin infused with the metals, infused with the gemstones. And you can make just about any design you want, but that layering of the gemstones, the metals, the resins, and the minerals is an important part of the alchemy that brings about the energy from your piece. So I do use molds. I'm sorry?
Well, you kind of use, like, you have come up with your own recipe. I guess this is like the Coca-Cola secret formula, or the Popeye's secret sauce in their little chicken sandwich. But basically, you have figured out combinations of crystals and gemstones that you like to use, and that might be different from another creator. They're still using the principal elements, but it's really a craft based on the person's skill in terms of what, or skill or feeling in terms of how you present your golden era, if you will, Orgone. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that is accurate. And I have to say that even though I don't, intentionally put any of my own frequency in it, I am a electrical vibrating being. So my energy is going in the piece as creator, I play music, I make sure that I'm calm, I make sure that my frequency is vibrating very high. I'm happy. I'm usually sitting in the sun and enjoying some beautiful reggae music or something when I'm in that creative spirit, because when you are dealing with something that is liquid, it's close to water, the resin is like the water. We're all water beings too, and water holds energy. So just my pouring the resin and being in that creative space, of course, some of my energy is going in there. And I try to make sure that I'm really vibrating at a very high frequency when I'm in that creative zone. But, intentionally, I don't do it. So each piece, each creator, each person that is going to sit down and make orgone pieces, they are putting some of their energy into it. And they may resonate with a certain metal that I don't particularly resonate with. There are a choice of metals and minerals you can put in there. And I personally don't resonate with aluminum, but a lot of people do. A lot of creators do, so they use aluminum in their pieces. I like copper, and I like brass and stainless steel and things like that. So, yes, it does kind of depend on what the creator, the person that is creating the orgone piece, what they kind of feel comfortable with or what they resonate with. That energy is also going to be in the piece.
I have been at different retail stores, and all over, even when I traveled to Mexico, I saw a few pieces down there. And there are ones that feel flat, and I know that the principle is still there, like in a combination, because they're using the resin, the crystal. Some actually you can see bubbles in the resin, and you can tell the workmanship or that the mold might have been not flat, because there'll be like a crease mark on the bottom. So the workmanship you can tell for some, but others energetically just don't necessarily have a signature to me as I see them, and they may wind up speaking to other people. And then there's some that, I see on Instagram. I wound up ordering one actually from a creator down in Florida, because the energy just blew through the picture, the video that she was showing. The energy just radiated to me, and I could feel the high vibration even by proxy in a picture. So there is a lot of difference in craftsmanship, quite honestly,
Yes. I tend to be a perfectionist. I have, hundreds of pieces that are sitting here in a box because I didn't like the way it looked. Okay, it had a little, something on the side, and I'll end up doing something else with it. But that's just me as a person and as an artist. Now, I have had people come and ask me to test other people's orgone on them, like to do the energy test, because apparently when they bought it from someone else, they didn't get the energy test. So, just for instance, I had one young man who came to the booth one evening, and he had a beautiful, this piece, he had it on. It was one of the most beautiful pieces of jewelry in general, and it was an Orgonite or Orgone piece. And it was just on his neck, shining, blingy, beautiful craftsmanship. And he said, well, let me test, would you please do the test on his piece, the piece he had just bought. And he spent a lot of money on this piece. So I did the energy test. No energy at all. Nothing. So right over There was no binding. There was no strengthening. So
I know he was probably sick after that a little bit.
He was. And I wouldn't have done it, unless he asked me, and he did ask me to do it. And then he tested one of my pieces, and he was like, "Oh my God, what have I done?" I said, "Well, you know what? It's a beautiful piece. You can just wear it as something beautiful, And maybe there's some energy in it that that doesn't respond. I don't want to say I'm the know all, and my pieces are the end all when it comes to this type of energy. Maybe there's something more subtle going on in that piece, but yeah. So you really have to be careful. I would say be careful who you get your piece from. Make sure that it's a piece that resonates with your energy, that makes you feel good. Make sure it's a piece that is visually beautiful to you, because the more you have it around you, the more you wear it, the more you expose yourself to it, you're going to see a cumulative effect in your energy, in your experience. You can get measurable results. You will find yourself, for instance, sleeping better, maybe being more confident in your presentation to the world. A beautiful thing I think about Orgone Energy is that it has a characteristic called adaptogenic. And adaptogenic means that when it is reading, it goes in and reads your entire beautiful inner earth and cosmic force field. So it's reading and it's going in and it's tweaking and repairing the weakest energetic centers first. So, for example, again, if you need deeper, more restorative sleep, you will find yourself really getting better sleep. If you need more energy, or if you have aches and pains, sometimes the aches and pains will go away on their own. We know the body is always trying to find its balance and homeostasis platform. The body is always trying to heal itself before we go in and take pills or do surgery or anything like that. Sometimes it's just speaking the energy that needs to happen. And I've had people that had sciatic nerve pain to come back and tell me it's gone, that have had tinnitus to come back and tell me that it's gone. Vertigo, for some reason right now, there's a lot of young people experiencing vertigo, that dizziness where you just can't seem to catch your balance. You just feeling like you had a drink all the time. I had a young lady that came to me just last week. She could not take an escalator. It's that just the movement of the escalator made her dizzy and nauseous, so she avoided escalating. And she came back and told me, and I didn't know this before she got the piece, and she didn't know it was going to affect her this way. When she came back, she said, for the first time in years, I can take the escalator because I don't get dizzy anymore. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. And I just think when people come back with these testimonies, that lets me know that, okay, the formula that I'm using, along with my personal input is working. It's having a positive effect on those that have a piece. So I'm very, very thankful and humbled in the whole experience that I can affect people on that level.
Well, I want to pop back in real quick and check with the brother Abdullah if you're still here. It looks like, did you have any follow-up comments to the question? Did it answer what you were inquiring?
Yes, it does. It does, because she also, as the creator of the pieces, I noticed, she said as the creator, she has to be, in a positive, have a positive attitude when creating the pieces. So, it seems that, you have to be open, to what the effects that it might have, but yeah. So I think she answered my question.
Oh, excellent, excellent. I wanted to check back in. Thank you for calling this evening. And I was thinking about I put you back through the call queue, but how every artist, like Beethoven wrote, while you can hear dun 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 dun, you know what I'm saying? Like that he was in a turbulent energy as he was bringing forth this symphony. I think every artist, like when they are in an energy of sadness or melancholy, they're channeling it into their art or their music or their creation. Any person who works with like clay, pottery as a medium says that you have to really bring your energetic person into the creative process. And I think that is where you're working with materials just like paint, clay, resin, musical instruments, right? But then the energy that you as the craftsman bring, and we've all heard performances that are flat, that don't have any emotional context to them, even though the pieces are created technically performed well. And you know what I'm saying? So the whole thing of medium versus energy and then using them together to achieve your goal, you certainly are not wanting to, in orgone balancing energy device, wanting to throw imbalanced energy into it. But say a person who is trying to create a picture or an artwork or something that challenges people is definitely going to want to channel all of that angst and sorrow or despair into their piece if they're trying to move people to tears. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think with orgone, you can't even pour orgone if it's too, if the environment outside is like too damp or too, you're like looking at a lot of things that go into the use of resin as well that would shift the product as it comes out.
Yes. Resin is a very mercurial type of personality. If it's too, like you said, if it's too damp outside or when the weather is cold, if it's cold inside, resin has a personality. It's like, no, I'm not going to cooperate. You should heat me up. I don't like the cold. I don't like the damp. So you do have to be very conscious of the environment that you pour your resin in. And again, being in water substance, and anybody that is familiar with Dr. Emoto's work, the Japanese scientist, that the frequencies that different words that you write in your water bottle or that you expose water to can change the molecular structure of that water. So resin being, very much like water, you have to be very careful of the energy, the frequency that it's exposed to, because it does hold it. It does hold it.
One of the, we have some more callers to bring on, but I was going to say, I think the most expensive piece of orgonite that I've ever encountered personally was at there was a Rising Spirit event up at Cobb Galleria here in Atlanta a few years ago, and there were probably 100 vendors in there, but one guy had made an Orgonite electric guitar, and it was this gorgeous deep burgundy. I think I told you about it after I saw it because it was several $1,000s, and he said it is actually a working electric guitar, but the amount of resin, first of all, and the resin craft needed to have that mold to even pour it, and the amount of quantity of materials, because the whole thing was flecked with mica and sparkly. I can't even imagine the kind of music that could be created with that. It really made me excited to think about it, but it was way, way out of my range.
I would love to do an instrument made out of resin. That must have been beautiful.
I know. It had to be the electric part because I don't think it would vibrate like a typical guitar, you know what I'm saying, to be able to generate sound like a regular guitar would, but it was super cool. Now, Orgonite is not inexpensive, but it's also not affordable, you know what I'm saying? So it's not something that I've ever seen be like $5 or $10 because you're talking about several materials that go into making it, but it's certainly affordable to buy multiple pieces for yourself, you know, from bracelets to smaller pyramids to pendants and things of that nature, at least what I've seen from you and from other people on Etsy and Instagram and stuff. It's not something that's so expensive that it's not available to the everyday person.
That's correct. That's correct. And more people are interested in the craft and wanting to learn how to make pieces for themselves, family, or maybe even to sell eventually. So, I mean, when I first started, I think 2011, there were some pieces online that were like 120, 120, and they were just the same size as mine. So now that there's, you know, yeah, there were some expensive pieces online, and I think you can still find a few. But now, you know, I think the playing field has been leveled considerably now that we have more artists and people who are interested in energy getting into the craft, which I think is a beautiful thing because we all could use a small piece of Orgonite somewhere in our life.
Yes.
We're all being said, so we can all use a piece.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So we've got a caller here who's been holding patiently. Caller ending 5645. You're on the Viberarian Show. Who are we speaking with?
Hello, this is Elias Mustafa.
Oh.
No, that's my son.
Yay. How wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Absolutely. My pleasure. I've been patiently listening and waiting for my turn to speak, but mostly I've been enjoying the intellectual conversation and learning more about, you know, the creation process of Orgonite and Orgone Energy.
Well, I know that I appreciate you calling in your mother. I mean, it's a beautiful thing because not only are you, you know, on the phone this evening, I believe that we have your daughter as well on the line this evening. And Rakaya, welcome to the show. You also are creating, and I don't know if you are as well, Elias, but you all, this is like a family affair in terms of bringing positive vibration to the masses.
Absolutely. I am not a creator yet, but I am definitely benefiting from the creations that both my mom and my sister have created. So I am really on the consumer and the testimonial end of this wonderful product. And I just wanted to give a little bit of testimonial and background on how Orgonite and Orgone Energy has been, you know, so beneficial to me in, you know, the past decade since my mom has started creating this. So just a little background. 10 years ago, approximately 10 years ago, I suffered an aortic dissection, and I had multiple strokes as a result of complications from the surgery. So after multiple months of various types of rehabilitation, physical, vocational, and speech therapy, there was a point in time where we realized, and my mom realized, that we needed to boost, you know, the level of recovery and add more tools to the arsenal of, you know, quote unquote professional medical tools that were at our disposal at the time. And it was at that point in time where, along, you know, so at some point in my recovery where she introduced me, or I was introduced to Orgonite and Orgone Energy, and I cannot believe the first time. I was a skeptic because I am, I call myself a man of science and this, that, and the other. But after the first test, the balance test that she did on me, and I have a very weakened right side of my body because of the damage that the stroke did to the left side of my brain. But the first test was undoubtedly made me the biggest appreciator and believer of the craft and of Orgone Energy. She put the Orgone in my left hand, and she did and I'm sure everyone probably has seen the test that she does. She will try and with as much forces as she can pull you off balance. And I was as rooted as a baobab tree. I wasn't going anywhere, and it just it just felt so good. Just to, in that one instant, just to be converted to, maybe the biggest skeptic to the biggest believer and appreciator of, the product and, the energy.
I'm called to share. I knew that there was a personal motivation behind your beginning to work with Orgone Energy, just from your bio on your webpage and stuff, but I had never really gotten personal to find out, what your testimony was. So thank you for sharing. And we have Rakaya on the line as well, live at this point too. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was patched in for this part, because it certainly is something that your family then has experienced in a real and tangible way.
Greetings.
Absolutely.
I am here. How are you doing this evening?
Wonderful.
Yes, I just want to share a few words as well. Elias, of course, is my baby brother, so when he went not feeling well, the whole family kind of went into a tailspin. And when my mom came up, actually, the universe brought the Orgone Energy to her as she was on a mission to get Elias healed up. That's the baby. So when she started making this Orgone, just on the premise that she felt the energy and she was tested as well, there was Orgone everywhere. I mean, all the ice trays, anything that might have looked like a mold, might have accidentally, became a mold, didn't know it was going to have that lifespan. Everything was being made into Orgone because the level of protection and healing that we experienced right off, especially because of what Elias was going through. We saw it live. We saw him come to it from a space of, okay, what kind of physical life is he going to have here going forward to, oh my goodness, this is limitless. His healing is now limitless because the activation of the energy has just gone sky high. Mommy, I love you, of course. Let's go ahead and put that out there. I do have a question, though, because it hasn't been touched on yet. And maybe you talked about human healing. Do pets benefit from it? And because you can't do a muscle test on a pet, do you have anything you can share in that light? Like, have you had any testimonials or stories how someone's pet might, receive some energy or some benefit therein?
Okay, that's a really good question. We've had several people that purchased from me, and I was not able to do a muscle test on their pet, but I did the muscle test on them, and I said, well, your kitty cat or your dog is a sentient being. They do have energy centers themselves. They're, they're very close to the human experience when it comes to the energy. And they bought it with the hope. I'm thinking of one woman in particular who had a very sick kitty cat. She was very old, and she was probably transitioning, but she was very agitated and very unhappy. And she bought it for her cat, And the cat did transition, but the lady came back and said that once she put the orgone on her cat, that it did calm down. It was very peaceful. It was a very peaceful transition. It stopped crying. It stopped, kind of fighting the process and transitioned very peacefully. I've had several people that bought it for dogs. Again, I'm trying to remember. It's been several years since I've had a testimony, but I do remember one person had a beautiful white lab, and it was just hyper, just, jumping everywhere. She had a lot of success with her pet as well. He calmed down over time. It took a couple of weeks, but he did calm down. He was more obedient and more relaxed. Now, the experience I had with a cat we had in the house, we took in a stray cat, and he was really, really kind of messed up. I think he got in a dog fight. He brought his cat paws to a dog fight, and the dog won. So he was chewed up, his arm was chewed up, and we took him to the vet. And I took him to the vet, and I told the vet, who was open to the idea of energy medicine, and really had some experience, not only open with it, he has some experience with, muscle testing animals and natural remedies for animals. And he did a muscle test on Hoppy. That was our kitty cat's name. And he said, yes, this is definitely something, speaking of the Orgone Energy, this is definitely something that has a positive influence on pets. So we do make some puppy paws. I do have them now and then. I make little molds that look like puppy paws to put around the pet's, what you call it?
Collar.
What do you call it? The collar. Yes, thank you. It's on the pet's collar that can hang off it, and you can just put it in the pet's bed when the pet sleeps at night, and it'll get that energy as well. Yeah, so it does work on pets, absolutely.
Well, and let me just chime in that one brother, Zavdiel, who is a wonderful crystal craftsman himself, he raves about, like, he keeps a piece of Orgonite in his car, in his vehicle, like on the dashboard, and he swears that he gets better mileage out of his car than a regular tank of gas from having that force, I guess, energy field running close to his engine. So not just animate objects, but inanimate things that are, energy too, just moving at a different frequency, right?
Yes. Well, in all of my pieces, and I just started doing this, I guess, the last 3 or 4 years, I've added a gemstone called shungite into my pieces. And in Russia, which is where the source of shungite is, in Russia they've been using it for many, many years as not only a grounding stone like black tourmaline, but a stone that can actually just shift the energy or slow down the energy of your meters, your electric meters, your water meters. They put them outside on their meters they put them in their water to just the gemstone, just the stone itself. And it just looks like a piece of charcoal. But I can believe that if he has shungite in that piece, that it does probably help with his gas usage. But I think more importantly is when you have a piece of Orgone in your car, it's absorbing some of the energy. What happens, like when you're driving your car and you get on your cell phone, you answer your cell phone, that energy, that EMF energy, electromagnetic frequency, is bouncing from the satellite to the cell phone tower into your car. Once that energy gets in your car, it's bouncing back and forth between your metal doors, using you as a conductor of that electromagnetic frequency, which is very, very debilitating for your energy system. So to have a piece of Orgone in the car, it's really a very good protective force field and keeping you from absorbing so much of that EMF frequency, which is stuck in your car. So, yeah, Orgonite in the car, definite. a definite.
See, I learned something new every time I talk with you. That's why I love it. Elias and Rakaya, did you have any other things? Because I do have some more people who want on the air. Did you have any other things that you wanted to say before I shift you back over into the listening queue? I know, Rakaya, you're actually making Orgonite with your mom, correct?
I am, and she covers all the bases, and she teaches me what she knows, and then we get creative together. So it's a bubble of creativity that happens between us, and the new ideas form kind of naturally. So it's like yin yang. It's awesome.
Yay!
And I just didn't want Rakia to be the only one that said this and leave me hanging like a bad son. But I love you too, Mom. And I wanted to say that I keep a pyramid at work, at my desk, at home in my bedroom, to keep a lot of the frequencies from the very high pace, a high stressful environment that I work in the city, and just to keep a lot of peace in the immediate environment that I'm in. So it's been very, very helpful to me. I think that it's made me less stressful, and I think that with visually, when I saw a couple of the pieces that I picked initially, I think that visual pleasure that I immediately gained from looking at it also brought some positivity into me, along with the added benefits of what Orgone does in itself. I did have that, this visual pleasure, pleasurable thing to look at that, really made me feel good as well.
Absolutely, and that's not accidental.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both of you for tuning in to the show. Of course, you're going to support your mother, and that's beautiful, but also for contributing to the conversation. Thank you both. Mudiwa, did you want to say anything before I take the next caller?
Yes, I just want to say for all the beautiful beings out there that I did not pay them to say that, okay? So that was today, and very, very, very grateful for them. Thank you so much, guys.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, my best friend is one of my crew, and she has several pieces of Orgonite and does not really rest well at night unless she's wearing her Orgonite. But when her husband was deployed to Qatar or somewhere over there a couple years ago, one of your small flat-top pyramids traveled with him and made it the whole year and back from his travel. He did make it back in one piece.
Wow,
it's a global journey that your Orgone has been making with people. So I don't know if he really would say that it helped him, but she and I know that it was a nice little, grounding thing. It was in his rucksack and then in his room. So hopefully, well, he didn't have to believe it to receive it. You know what I'm saying? So.
That's true. That was wonderful.
I've got another caller here. Caller ending 0787. You're on the Viberarian show. Who are we speaking with?
Dr. Tracy J.
Oh, Dr. Tracy
Hello.
J. Welcome to the show. Dr. Tracy is one of the amazing and gifted individuals who provide services at the Blue Barn, at the Psychic Fair at Gloria's, and as well works with the Viberarian and will be at the Elevation Station. And she's just a phenomenal metaphysician, a philosophy and metaphysician. So welcome to the show, Dr. Tracy.
Thank you. I just wanted to put my 2 cents in, or give a testimony of this wonderful, beautiful woman who has created these amazing, powerful pieces. I just wanted to say that I really thank you, and I appreciate your heart and your love. And I have a testimony surrounding my being a healer. And I've been on this journey for a while, and I do my work with a wide open heart, and sometimes I get really, really caught up and lose sight of myself in terms of making sure that I am covered so that I will not take on other people's energies as I heal and assist and them taking a journey into their heart. And I remember Ms. Mudiwa, I know I'm saying your name wrong, please forgive me, that she shared with me how, as many have shared with me, how I have to be mindful of making sure that I have the proper protection or the tools to keep from experiencing things or energies that would harm me as a result of my heart being so wide open in what I do. And so one day when she was at the fair where I was doing readings, I was having a conversation with her, and her daughter was sharing with me and did the muscle test in holding the necklace that I now wear and never take off. And it's just been such a blessing to me as a healer to be able to have something that I know without a shadow of a doubt has helped me to be able to do my work and not have to be concerned about taking on other energies that would keep me from fully manifesting or moving forward in what I've been called to do. And as I've been listening to the show and learning more about what I have around my neck, I can say that I have another testimony in regards to I noticed that I haven't been having these pains in my right shoulder, and I had no idea, nor did I contribute it to having this work of art around my neck. And so now I can say that I am truly grateful for it on a whole nother level in terms of actually my arm being healed. And so thank you again for your love and your power and your dedication and what you do in helping us to be able to do what we do with having the assurance of your work being so powerful as it is. And so I just wanted to share that testimony and to say thank you again, and I love you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so very much, Tracy. And your love is really accepted with all my heart and returned to you. As quickly as I take it, I'm returning it back because what you're doing as well is such a beautiful work. But thank you for saying that. That was just beautiful. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Dr. Tracy, thank you so much for calling in, and I know that we will be having you back on the Viberarian show probably pretty soon because you've got some exciting projects with a book release coming up, and we've already talked with you about your angelic cards, and I know you've got some new cards, heart scan cards that are coming out, so we will definitely look forward to having another conversation with you on the Viberarian show. Thank you for calling.
Yes, me too. Okay, thank you.
Love you. Okay, we've got another caller here with a question. Let me see if we can bring on caller ending in 7141. You are on the Viberarian show. Who are we speaking with?
This is Dr. Yolanda Clay. How are you?
Oh, Dr. Clay. Oh, it's beautiful. This is a wonderful support in here. Dr. Clay, you are also a Orgone creator.
I am. I took the class from, well, I call her Mudiwa because she is my spiritual mother. But I did take the class from her recently, maybe about a month and a half ago or so, and I started making my pieces, and I was very excited about it, and we did a couple of places to vend, and the reaction that I got from the people that were coming by was just awesome. And prior to that, I had been using the Orgone on my myself, and then I incorporated it in my practice. And, I got many testimonies from my clients as well, but I did want to share a testimony with the Orgone. Omi Mudiwa, we have a place in Jamaica, and we do retreats and healing retreats for our clients as well, with the Orgone and the bioenergetic assessments. And we went to Jamaica for 2 weeks a year ago. And we went to an event. We weren't vending at the event. We didn't even have our Orgone jewelry. We just were at the event. And people were complimenting our jewelry, and so we ended up getting some pieces and selling a few pieces. So maybe about a week later, a friend of mine in Jamaica, she owns a bar, and I was down there visiting her, and people were complimenting my jewelry, and I started doing the energy test in the bar. So a few days after that, we were getting testimonies. People were calling. People were coming by, purchasing the Orgones. Anywhere we went, they were purchasing the Orgones. By the end of that week, we had like a crew of people all over Negril, Jamaica, wearing Orgones, right? So the day we were leaving, I got a call from my friend, and she said, I need to meet with you guys. I already have some Orgones sold. I said, we're on our way to the airport. We can't get to you. When I come back, I'll bring them. So I traveled back to Jamaica 2 weeks later. I had so many people waiting on the Orgones. So I go to a restaurant to meet up to show the Orgones that were already basically sold. And so people were in the restaurant, and they were complimenting the jewelry. So this guy comes up to me, and he was a skeptic. He did not believe it. He was not into any type of energy healing or anything like that. He just thought the jewelry was cute, but he saw me doing the energy test on other people, and he just was a skeptic. I'm a small frame woman, and this was like a 6'2" guy, maybe 200 something pounds. So I do the test. It works. He buys a piece. I see him 3 days later at the restaurant that morning, and he is just so hyped. He is just bragging and talking about how, he said, you have no idea the work I've gotten done in the past 3 days. He said, I had to take it off because I had so much energy, and I was doing all these different things. And so that was great. Well, a few days after that, I'm leaving, and there's a healer in Jamaica who I'd been dealing with for 5 years. So I stopped at her place to buy some of her products. And her family, they were having a birthday party. So as I'm talking to her children who are around my age, I says, yeah, your mom, she's great. I've been using her products for 5 years, and I have people in America that love it. So she has this healing oil. So this woman from a distance says, no, your mom is the one that's great. So I turned around and she said, I know you don't know me, but I know you. She said, but I know your mom. And I'm thinking, everywhere in Jamaica that Omi Mudiwa has been, I've been. So if you know her, you definitely know me. And so she told me she was at the restaurant that day that I did the energy test on the guy, and that she had never personally met my mother, but she said just the talk about her throughout the restaurant afterwards. And then the guy who bought the jewelry, she was with him. So she was just going on and on and on. And so I was saying, look, you're not even trying to. You're assisting in healing all over the world. Just from that, because we were getting people. I mean, in Jamaica, you meet people from all over the world, literally. So that was very eye-opening for me. The testimonies that I got back, people can't wait for us to get back. Even the bar I went into, I said, this is too funny. I had to call Omi and say, I go into this bar, and right on the wall they have your picture. Talking about your organ. I'm sorry if you don't want nobody to know me, but if they go into the bar, they're going to see it anyway. And then, too, we'll be out. I've had friends that'll say, I'll be out, and someone stop me and will say, I know who made that for you. Oh, my God, where is she? I've been looking for her forever, and things like that. So, you know, that's just one of so many testimonies that that I have with the Saa Orgone and the experience with Mudiwa. And I didn't hear the part where you said pound one, so I've been on the phone for an hour like, how is she not getting me? And I had to call one of the family members. I was like,
sorry.
The call was
Well, I was so engrossed in the conversation, I didn't even pause to do the little mid-show housekeeping. So I'm glad that somebody gave you the tea on that. Dr. Clay, I'm very glad that you called in, and I am very excited to see some of your pieces that are, coming out. I haven't had time to really peruse at Gloria's event, being that I was working at the time, but I look forward to seeing you and Mudiwa at the Viberarian Elevation Station on the 19th. For those of you that are listening that are in the Atlanta area, having a pop-up event. It's a beautiful space and gathering of metaphysical products, services, high vibrational people, vendors, and readers. And you all are participating. You've been working, participating in my events since they started 2 years ago. And I just love being able to bring more people into awareness about your beautiful work and how Saa and Orgone can really help you balance your life. So, and Dr. Clay, I know that you also are a holistic doctor, so I love this is now a gathering of people who are cross-pollinating, right, and that there's no real separation when you're healing people. It's all blending together because we are at our most fundamental level energetic beings. So thank you for calling in this evening.
Thank you for having the show. Absolutely. Yeah.
So since everyone is providing a testimony, I do have to share my experience simply because it's a little bit more on the fringe of things. And then I have a couple more questions for you afterwards. But so I am like an aware and awakened psychic intuitive. And so I'm, providing professional services as well as being and just living with a connection to my divine guidance. And I frequently go to Mexico, down to the Yucatan Peninsula. And I was down there on my last trip, and a good friend of mine who had undergone a spiritual awakening was telling me that he had been experiencing in his meditation time where he would begin to channel energies, and he was really just trying to get a feel for what had been happening and what he was hearing and experiencing in his body and the words that were kind of flowing through him. And I was one of the people that he turned to talk to about it because it had been actually kind of disruptive for him and his family because, if somebody is all of a sudden meditating and they begin to speak in a voice that's not necessarily their own or their own mannerisms start to shift, it can be very, very disruptive, especially if it's not happening in a way where even the person who's experiencing it understands fully what's going on. So he had been telling me that, he wanted me to be an observer to this, to see what my feeling was about it. And so we were sitting one evening, and I hadn't even really thought about it, but as I was sitting there talking with him, I wound up having like a huge hunk of chrysocolla, a big rose quartz that I had with me because I travel with all my things, all my sacred objects that are super important to me, travel with me wherever I go. But I wound up having kind of like this half circle of crystals kind of between me and him, and I had been reading cards and really bringing messages. So I had like this angel card and other things, and I normally was wearing your Orgonite pendant. It was a beautiful lotus flower with the sparkly pink background. I'm sure you remember that, your pieces. So I had actually taken it off and was sitting with it on the table, kind of like moving it around. And so all of a sudden, the energy shifted, and he was like talking and things, and he reached out and picked up my necklace. And as he held it, his hand and his arm started shaking, and it started clattering on the table, like clack, 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 right, in a very kind of disruptive way. And he was looking at it very strangely. And I said, "What is going on? What's wrong?" He said, "I'm trying to figure out why I can't pick this up." And then it was like he forcibly, like, his hand jerked open and he dropped it on the ground and could not pick it up anymore. So at that point, I was like, hold on, let's stop the presses, because if you cannot handle the energy of Orgonite, if it's foreign to you and it's not something that you can stand to have in your energetic field, then I am certain that I don't want you in my energetic field either at that point. So needless to say, I called in all of my highest vibrational guides and true source, love, divine energy, the feminine energy, the angels, archangels, everybody was on deck at that point. And I wound up, for like several minutes, like he was kind of opening and closing, he would come back and he would be like, "I know who you are." And then this energy would come forward again that was just kind of like observing me. It made me very uncomfortable. But I was like, "No, you need to leave. You need to go. You are in control of this. Don't allow anyone to just pick up your phone and make phone calls with it." Was kind of like the overall lesson of the teaching at that moment. I never expected to be in that kind of encounter, because that's not really the spiritual work that I do. I do have friends who work in that area that would quickly have been, be gone, back, step back and kind of manage it differently. But what I realized is that my Orgonite was like my thermometer, if you will, that let me know that there was something not aligned with what I wanted to experience, and probably was not at all healthy for my friend either. And when he reemerged out of that kind of trance state, then he was able to handle it just fine. And he had probably picked it up before, right? But it was just in that one moment when things had really changed that his interaction with the Orgonite actually changed as well. And so, after that point, I think it was a couple days later, I wound up putting it back on just to wear, and I wound up having like a little, like almost like a bruise or a burn, if you will, on my skin, so where I wound up taking it off, and I haven't actually worn it since that time. And I don't know if it had just transmuted so much energy, and it was the metal part that was on the back of your Orgonite, not the front part, so it was kind of just against my breastbone. And so it took quite a while for that little area to heal, and it was just like a little spot where it was almost like I had gotten a scrape or a bruise or something like that. And so I said to myself, thank you. I thank the Orgonite for the work that it did. It's now just in my sacred objects, but I don't wear it. And I haven't replaced it yet, so I will be seeing you for a new lotus necklace, because I love that. That's so much Kuan Yin energy for me there. But it was very, very interesting to see something literally shaking and vibrating and clanking across the table because the person couldn't pick it up. So that's, a little bit more intense example than what everyone else has shared, but it's really what happened to me, you know what I'm saying? And I understood it to be the indicator that it was at that moment, because I love your work, and if you can't touch your work, then we're not of the same vibration. Let me just put it like that, So
I agree. But, I think that's a testimony too to the fact that you have to be very careful of the energies that you channel into your person and that you invite into your energy force field, because it's 90% of what we're experiencing is on the invisible as we experience this incarnation. We know the tangible, what we can see, feel, hear, and touch is there, but there's a whole other world of frequency out there. There's a whole other world. There are entities out there. Not to throw anybody off, I'm not going into woo-woo land, but there's a lot of energy out there that doesn't resonate on a very high or a very positive frequency, and it can be very and extremely chaotic. There's a lot of chaotic energy out there. So it sounds like he channeled something very powerful that did not resonate with you, or that did not, it did not resonate with him when he's just in his normal state. And more than likely, your gemstones and your Orgonite put a protective force field around you, and let him know, look, there's something going on here that is not copacetic. You better be careful. So that's an excellent testimony.
I mean, absolutely. It's like you don't have to know that there's a flu virus to know that the flu virus can make you sick. You don't have to see it. You know what I'm saying? You can see the evidence of the flu if you get the flu. So the same thing with, other kinds of energy. And I know that it is somewhat woo-woo for people when you step into that. But for some of us that live in woo-woo land, this is part of like a normal conversation for us. So, we're straddling kind of both the scientific of creating molecules and atoms and the woo-woo of energy and channeling and beings of, of frequency. So for sure, it's and that's one thing I love about being able to have the conversations on the show, is that we kind of range from A to Z. Now, I do want to touch on this because I've noticed on your product range, you have a product that is let me just say, we're going to keep it adult here because it is after 10 o'clock at night. You have a cock ring product that has Orgonite in it. And for those of you who need a description, this would be a device that fits around the base of the penis that has Orgonite in it, and I'm assuming that it is meant to help be an energetic, I don't know, well, part of me said, well, if you need protection from it like that, you probably shouldn't be in it, but I don't know if that was the wrong assumption about what it's for, if it's for virility instead of protection, but I thought to myself, I guess, is it an energetic condom, or is it for strength or stamina? What's the purpose of having Orgonite at the,
No, let me just get that straight right off the bat. It is not condom, okay? Do not.
I'm sorry, I couldn't. What did you say? It was muffled on that.
It is not a condom. Don't think that you can use that device. A condom. My daughter created the Saa Orgone G-ring. I think she calls it G-ring, and she can speak on it much better than I can. So I'm gonna let her speak to me. She's right here, so she can tell you about it. Okay.
Okay.
Greetings, everyone.
Hi.
So, basically the idea behind that was we make waist beads as well. And so I've been wearing my Orgone waist beads for years. I wear them years at a time. In fact, I started wearing or putting Orgone bells on my waist beads because there were a couple of times where I would leave the house and I'm a half a mile up the street and I didn't put on any Orgone. So I would have to hump back to the house because I'm not just going to be lingering around on this earth unprotected. So I would hump back to the house and put on some earrings or whatever it is. I said, so what can I wear? So I have the orgone on my body at all times. So I made the waist beads with the orgone bell on it. So I have mine on all the time. And, you know, I was just in a crappy mood, and I was like, that seems kind of unfair. You know, I said, what are we going to do? I feel protected all the time. I said, that seems kind of unfair. What are we going to do for the fellas? So it came as a culmination of trying to develop something that a man could wear for long periods of time, that they don't have to think about it. You know, you might have a bracelet or a pendant that doesn't necessarily go with your suit, you know, or whatever the case may be. So I was just trying to mirror the idea of how can we have our fellas have something protect them at all times. So that's when I started creating that. You know, I started experimenting with some of my male cousins and my male friends and my close ones that could give me real feedback on, you know, what's going on here. 'Cause, you know, clearly you have to go, you know. So that idea started to sprout. And then, you know, when we started looking at different ways, my mom and I, of how a mold can be translated into different works of art, we're like, there's no holds barred. You know, that's just one of the things that came about just for the yin yang again effect. The ladies have this. What can the males have? You know, that can mirror having something you have with you at all times. And it certainly helps that we are in this 5G world. And there are all kind of fertility problems. There are all kind of problems happening. There's so much prostate cancer. It cannot hurt to have a piece of orgone sitting right there in that space where hopefully you're not paying a whole lot of attention to that space throughout the day, but it's there protecting you even in those periods of times when you're not, you know, focused in that space. So that was the idea. It wasn't necessarily a whole.
So it's not necessarily like for performance and sex when they're like erect. This is to wear around their genitalia, like just on the daily.
Yes.
Or it's both.
But I did. yes. But I will say that, you know, in my research phase of coming up with this, I was like, can you wear it during, you know, sexual performance? And I did some research, and you can. So what I've done is, oh my gosh, I went through several rounds of prototypes trying to figure out how it could have some flex. So it does have flex, so it will accommodate, you know, the rising and the falling of, you know, partial or full erections throughout the day or whenever. So my idea was, how can I create something that could be worn fluidly for a long period of time and have the person or the wearer reap as many benefits as possible. So that's what it is.
Thank you. I was curious because, you know, I was like, let me not assume, first of all, and let me ask. So I knew I was going to bring it up this evening. Something told me it was probably a more useful part of the product line as well. So, but you do have things like for baseball hats, for bags, not just, and your bracelets are not necessarily gender focused. They're suitable for either men or women. Your pendants are a spectrum of gender neutral to more feminine to more heavier pieces. And then you have pyramids of various sizes and domes. And I told you I would love to get a charging plate for to put water on before I drink it. And I mean, you're just emerging with more and more products as the creativity comes forward. So I think that's very cool too.
No, thank you. We're always trying to think of what's next. You know, and I think one of the things I'd like to get into is making my own molds so that I can make something like a guitar, like the one you saw. I would love to.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, maybe I'll start with a flute or something like that, but that would require making a mold. I would love
And
to
that's
be
a
able to
lot
do
of
that.
trial and error for your products, for your materials. But I do have, one beautiful part about working, and not just with Mudiwa Golden Era. Let me just be clear that, as she said, there are many, many people now who are doing this. And if you are interested in becoming like a craft wizard yourself, some people love to play in the sandbox, then absolutely you can do that. And I hope to be able to share some information about Mudiwa's classes in the near future, because you have talked about moving more into the educator role, because there's a demand for that from people who've been wanting to learn from you how to do it. But, when these tools are out there for us so readily available, it won't be long before we start seeing these in the big box chains, because I've started to see amethyst and rose quartz at like the retail stores, and everybody is kind of like jumping on the bandwagon. And I believe that it's better to support the small craftsmen and women who are really pouring their own creative energy and spirit into bringing these beautiful things that help people into form and reality. And of course, to financially support that with your business, shop small, shop local, I believe that as well. So I don't want it to seem like I'm only tooting your horn. Of course I am, but I own pieces by other creators myself. So just participate in the economy in some way, shape, or form, Now, you are available. So you also do custom pieces. So I have a beautiful carnelian eggs that I have asked and requisitioned for you to create a custom piece. I don't care what it really looks like, because I trust your artistic vision. Do you do like consigned and requested pieces with frequency?
I do. I won't say with frequency. I really take it on the individual case by case level, because I do not want to take somebody's beautiful heirloom gemstone that their great grandmother gave them and try to put it in a piece of resin and it doesn't come out, because there's no going back with resin. Okay, and I'm human, I'm fallible, I can make mistakes. So I do it on a case-by-case basis. I'll, discuss with you what you'd like to have made, and if I feel comfortable that I could do it and make you happy and make something beautiful and powerful energetically for you, yes. But I can't just say, yes, I do custom, but I will talk to you about your custom piece, and I will give you very honest feedback. If I don't feel like comfortable with doing it, I'm just going to say, no, I just don't think I can handle this case. But yes, in general, I will do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I made the cut. And where can people find you now? I know you've been all over Atlanta. For those of you who are in the Atlanta area, I know your website is www.goldeneracreations.com. And are you still on Etsy then, actively?
Well, Etsy monitors our website, but we are basically at goldeneracreations.com. That's where we have all of our pieces exhibited, just on our individual website.
Okay. And they can purchase through your website directly?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And I am at various shows and festivals around town. Of course, I will be at the Viberarian show coming up, your show coming up on the 19th. We're very excited to do that and be a part of this kind of launching of the new energy of the Viberarian in 2020. And when spring comes around again, I'm usually just about every weekend I'm down at Atlantic Station. That has been kind of stable place to be during the summer, spring and summer months. And in between that, just different various festivals that we try to post on Facebook when we're going to be different places.
And also, they can follow you on Instagram at Golden Era Creations as well to see pictures of new products and to kind of keep up with where you're vending in the Atlanta area. I know out at Atlantic Station in the market there, it's really beautiful in the spring and summertime, and that's a very vibrant kind of intersection of Atlanta between tourists and people shopping at ATLians and such as that. It's really a beautiful space. I've popped by to visit you there as well, and it's like a summer breeze, an open tent, and beautiful sunshine, you know, with our Atlanta weather, and it fits right alongside the energy of your work. So, you know, I thank you for sharing some of this information with us. Now, I do want to also bring up, there is a bit of controversy about the term Orgonite. And I don't know if it finally has settled down, but would you share a little bit about your, at least from what you know about this whole Orgonite as a term issue?
Yes. So I actually stopped using the term Orgonite because of the issues that came up. For two reasons. The issue that came up, there was a person, a German guy, who claims that he coined the term Orgonite with the ITE on Orgone. And it's so funny because I met him at the Blue Barn. This was several years ago, maybe 5 years ago. He came into the Blue Barn, and he came right to my table, and I had seen him on the Internet, and he was very, very kind of stern and scientific, and, you know, he was kind of criticizing people that really claiming they didn't really know what they were doing, and on and on and on. He was very nice to me. He came to my table, and he started saying, well, you know, I'm thinking about putting out a cease and desist order on anybody who's using the term Orgonite, okay? And I just thought to myself, okay, that's fine. You know, we don't have to use Orgonite. Is, you know, universal life force energy. We don't have to call it anything. And the thing is, he ended up buying one of my pieces, two of my pieces, and telling me that the energy was very good in it. So I was very happy with that. But he put out he did go forth with a legal cease and desist order for anybody using the term Orgonite on Etsy and eBay. They had to stop using it. And for a while, and Etsy sent a message out to all of the people that were making Orgone Energy and said, you can't use this term anymore. So I decided I was just going to use the term Saa. Not only because of that, I respect his right to do that. You know, to me, it's not very broad thinking. It's not very high thinking. You know, this is all energy we have to share. There's no reason why we have to put boundaries and borders on the term we use. So there's really no explanation on why he went for it with that, except that he claimed that he was the creator. So not only was that kind of, you know, kind of steering me away. It steered me away from using the term Orgonite altogether. But in my research, I found that this is an ancient science going back to pre-Egyptian to Kemetic alchemy, okay? And I'm sure back in those days there was no such term as Orgonite, so I felt very comfortable with just using the term Saa, which is an ancient Kemetic term, as I said previously, that means to adorn with power, which I thought was just a beautiful marriage between what we are doing and, you know, and the term itself. So we're adorning you with power. So that's how I came up with the term Saa Energy. I don't know where that stands now. I do see the term Orgonite now and then. I don't see it on Etsy now that much, but I have seen people selling Orgonite on Amazon. Speaking of big box, you know, how things are just kind of spreading. I have seen it on Amazon, and referred to as Orgonite. But so that's how, that's a little bit of the controversy that's been going on with that, labeling your pieces Orgonite. And I do, also speaking about people who want to get into making it and are, interested in, sharing this science and experimenting with the craft, do your research. Don't just take one or two people's, experience or ideas to heart and think that that's all there is to it. Use your own intuition. Yes, get the basic science, the basic alchemy, the basic step by step down, but then put your own energy, put your own creativity into it. Experiment, experiment with the different resins, the different minerals, the different gemstones. I mean, there's a plethora of different ways that you can approach this creative process. So honor what you feel and experiment with the different ways that you can come up with your pieces.
Mhm. That is excellent advice. We are entering this era of what I would say and others say quantumness. So when we learn certain things, like we learn Reiki or we learn how to do Orgonite or we learn crystals, then we start to find that there's certain feelings we have towards, well, you know what, I'm going to adjust the recipe, if you will. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. It's not exactly Reiki and it's not exactly the formula I learned in the Orgone handbook, but it works and I'm seeing things, and that's because we are unlocking a remembering of our at a cellular level as creator beings that, oh, we've done this before, and it could be as simple as changing the paprika level in your recipe a little bit, you know what I'm saying? At some point you become adept at something and you deviate from the recipe and you make it your own. And every good cook knows that, if you're baking, you have to be precise or your cake will turn out flat. But, you tweak, the science of the recipe has to have a leavening in it, or not, depending on your goal. But once you pass the science threshold, then it comes into your knowing and your knack, and you can't justify to anybody why you put such and such in your potato salad, but when everybody likes it. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same kind of confidence with materials and craft science,
It's exactly the same thing, and we're living in such a beautiful time of ascension. There's such a beautiful force in the environment, on the planet, and in the cosmos now. We're being pulled up consciously, subconsciously. People that, like you said before, we were talking about how so many people feel like they're empathic now, or so many people are interested in gemstones now. They've never heard of it before, and they're really interested in learning about gemstones and learning Reiki. So, as a species, we're really on an upwardly mobile kind of train and flow here, and it's a very beautiful and a very pulling and a very, I want to say it's like a co-op. We're feeding each other in this energy. So honor yourself, honor your intuitions, honor your dreams, honor your feelings, and especially if you're going to share what you're making, if you're getting into this kind of artwork or craft, honor who you are. Let your work reflect your energy, your personal, unique, beautiful energy, and you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with it.
As always, wise words and loving energy from you. I just want to hug you and thank you so much. Every time I see you, I get excited and I learn at the footstool, with you, so I can listen for hours. But Well, everyone who is tuned in this evening, I really appreciate your stopping by for the elevational conversation. Every Thursday, I'm going to be here at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. There'll be topics of discussion. Sometimes it'll just be conversation, and based on what you call in and want to talk about, that's where we'll go with the flow. It's this beautiful, I kind of call this show a cross between Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. We're out there exploring the mysteries of the unknown, and also then the cross between that and X-Files, like we're seeking the truth that is out there that kind of is mind-blowing. So it's a grab bag of things any given week. And I'm so glad to have you kick off the new 2020 season to set the foundations for the kind of high vibrational conversations that will be occurring here. So next Thursday I'll be on at 9 p.m. Same phone number, 646-787-8436 from 9 until. And on Tuesday, this coming up, I have another show called The Psychic Inside Show. And this is an interview format conversation where each week I have a different person on who has opened up to their gifts and abilities, and they come on and I get to talk with them and probe about what their journey entailed. How did they discover they were psychic? What does their gift look like? Do they even call themselves psychic, or do they call themselves something else? And I've had probably 40 interviews so far, and let me tell you, people are coming from all different walks of life, all different belief systems, but they're looking to live authentically and accept everything about themselves in terms of how they've discovered who they are in the world. This Tuesday, my guest is Sister Imani, and she is also known as the Empress of Cups. And this young lady is a initiated priestess in the Afro-Cuban religious system. She is a shaman, a womb healer, and bone reader. I mean, she's just phenomenal, and her vision, I've had a reading with her, vision is very clear in the guidance that she receives. And she's coming from a kind of ancestral background, so I'm very interested to have her share about what it looks like to be an ancestral practitioner and to have that connection. So that'll be Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. on this same Viberarian radio network, and I do hope that you will tune in. And of course, as always, if you are in Atlanta next weekend on January 19th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Bimari, I can't remember which way she said to say it, but it's an event center and art studio down in Jonesboro. It's a beautiful space, and we're going to have over 10 to 15 vendors who will be having products and services available for you to shop from. And I've also got 9 confirmed phenomenal readers who will be also providing appointments that you can book online in advance. You can check out the full spectrum of people who will be participating by following the Viberarian page on Facebook or Instagram. You can also call 404-939-6411 and reach me directly if you have any questions. So, Mudiwa, do you have any other last words of wisdom for anyone before we bring this conversation to a close?
Oh, not really, Joelle. I just really want to thank you so much for being the high vibrational being that you are and sharing all of your expertise with the world, sharing your energy and your love. I want to thank you for inviting me and my entire family who happened to show up tonight, which I'm very appreciative for. Thank you so much for providing the space and the events that you have coming up. And I'm wishing you all the best in love and life and bliss and success for this new year. So to you and all of us.
Oh, I receive it. Thank you. I receive it. We are Vibe Attraction Tribe, so we are on the same frequency. To all of you who have been tuning in and that will hear this, we are on iTunes and Stitcher, which are podcast directories. This show will also be up on the Viberarian YouTube channel. That's like the repository for all of these interviews. So you can check this out in your car if you've been tuning in. Thank you for listening on the replay to those of you that made it this far. Now, this week, I wish for you absolutely that your experience is filled with so many blessings that they spill out from your arms to bless the world around you. The light in me absolutely honors the light in you. Namaste.
Namaste.